بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Before we begin, as we did last night in Dublin, when the Imam of the Masjid, commonly known as the mosque, introduced me, he made some errors, and we told the audience that those errors were because of some information, some misinformation that he received. So we didn't blame him. So likewise, we don't blame our brother for saying some things about me that are not true. One of them, which sticks out of my mind, because there were about 5 or 6 of them I counted, one of them is that he says I'm the Imam of a masjid in Asbury Park, New Jersey, called Masjid al-Bayan. Actually, he has the outdated Islamic biographical sketch of myself. I'm no longer the Imam of Masjid al-Bayan in Asbury Park. I'm the Imam of another masjid in Camden, New Jersey, in the United States. And so we won't belabor nor continue his mistakes. We forgive him for that. He didn't know. There are 3 things we want to say before we begin. One of them is in a question by the raise of a hand. How many of you here are not Muslim? Raise your hand. What is this, a leftist group or something? Everybody on that side is on the left of you. So you guys are not Muslims. So I assume that every single person on my left are Muslims. Is that correct? No. Okay, I just saw one young lady shaking her head. So I said, once again, by the raise of your hand, who are not Muslims? Not Muslims. Okay, now you've confused me. Okay, how many of you are Muslims? Raise your hand. Okay, number 1, that's number 1. Number 2, the Muslims are not allowed to ask any questions. You're not allowed to make any comments. You can't even clear your throat like this. Can't do anything. This day is for the non-Muslims, whether they are Jew or Christian or Hindu or atheist or otherwise. Do you understand me, Muslims? I don't hear you. Yes. I saw a lot of hands, but I only hear 2 people. Do you understand? The Muslims, do you understand? No comments from the audience. You understand? Huh? So why are you speaking right now? The third thing is that sometimes, many times, Muslim speakers, when they're talking to a Christian, predominantly Christian audience, whether it is in written form or speaking to them in face-to-face, they use the words Allah and they use the words God interchangeably. What we're going to do, if it's the will of Allah, we want to use the word Allah. And you non-Muslims, we want you to think in your mind, God. We're going to say Allah. We want you to think in your mind, God, so that we don't confuse people, to make them think that there's a difference between Allah and God. But we prefer to use the Arabic term, which is Allah. Is that okay with you? Just for sake of conversation. That's it. We're not trying to impose anything on you or ram this word Allah down your throats. Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay. The last thing, which is number 4, which I said was only 3, is that in many cases when people are talking about Islam and Christianity, Muslims, that is, Muslim speakers, they try to show the similarities. They try to show the similarities. And for the speaker that is sitting in front of you, I think this is a mistake. This is a mistake. But rather we should show the dissimilarities. and then try to come to some common agreement amongst ourselves. Show the dissimilarities. The number one dissimilarity between Islam and Christianity, of course, starts with Allah, whom in your head right now, you should have seen 3 letters, G-O-D, God. That's the number one thing that we have as a dissimilarity. How do the Muslims, who people today call the Islamics, and people 100 years ago or 200 years ago used to call Mohammedans, but we call ourselves Muslims, the nature of Allah, God, how do the Muslims view the creator of the heavens and the earth? And how do the Christians view the creator of the heavens and the earth? The Muslims have a view of the creator of the heavens and the earth, Allah, as the one who creates by himself everything. And he owns everything by himself. And he is the administrator of all the affairs of all of his creatures by himself. He is dissimilar to every single thing that is himself. Meaning, he is the creator and everything else is the creation. There's a verse in the Quran, the very first chapter of the Quran, called Surah, the very first surah or chapter in the Quran, the very first verse. It says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to Allah. All praise, all types of praise, all forms of praise and gratitude is to Allah or for Allah, Rabb al-Alameen, the Lord. And here the word Lord means the creator of everything by himself, the owner of everything by himself, the administrator of all the affairs of everything. And he does this by himself. He is the Rabb of al-Alameen. And one of the great scholars of the commentary of the Quran and exegesis of the Quran, he says that al-Alameen means kullu shay siwa Allah. Means everything other than Allah. The Lord of the world, some people translate it. The Lord of the universe. So the worlds or the universe and everything that is in it is created. And the only one that is not created, nor is he made, nor is he begotten, nor does he beget, nor does he procreate. The only one that is not al-Alameen, the worlds, the universe, the creation, is Allah. This is the number one striking dissimilarity between Islam and Christianity. The nature of Allah. Allah is the one who was here before there was a beginning. And he is the one who will be here after there's an end. He is the one who hears everything. He is the one who sees everything. He is the one who knows everything. He is the one who has power over everything. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing equal to him. There is nothing comparable to him. There is nothing similar to him. He has no needs. The Creator has no needs. And everything else has needs. The Creator, Allah, is independent. And everything else other than him is dependent upon him or something that he created. Dependent ultimately upon him or something that he created. And if he had not created it, they would have to seek something that he created to connect their dependence to him. Also, in the nature of Allah, the dissimilarities between Islam and Christianity, we find that the Muslims, as we mentioned in a short phrase, he does not beget, nor is he begotten. We believe that he has no son. And if we did believe that he had a son, we believe that he would do it right. He would have a wife. if he did have a son, or if he did have a daughter, or if he did have children, we believe if he did, he would have a wife. He would not be one who would do it illegally, incorrectly. But we disavow and deny any procreated attributes to the creator of the heavens and the earth because, listen very closely, even those who you are writing, listen very closely, because the creator of the heavens and the earth doesn't have to lower himself to anthropomorphic, humanistic, animalistic characteristics or qualities. All he has to do when he creates is say, be, and it exists. That's it. Be, as the Quran says, he says, kun fayakun, be, and it exists. That's it. As for anything that is created, it has to depend on something that already exists in creation to bring about another creation. And this is why we say that the human beings and the animals procreate, meaning they take something that already exists and they make something out of that. They create something out of that. Like, for instance, an individual looks at his portrait. He does a sculpture with his hands of clay or copper or ice or otherwise. He says, behold, world, look at my creation. The Muslims don't deny that he created. But the creation that Allah creates with is the one that he says, be and it is. As for anything else, they have to take something that already exists. Likewise, since he is the one who has all of these attributes, he is the ever-living, he is the self-subsisting, all of these eternal attributes, the Muslims will never, ever attribute any quality of divinity to anything other than him, because he is the one that deserves all divinity, and he is the one that deserves all holiness, and he is the one that deserves all perfection. No one deserves absolute divinity, absolute holiness, or absolute perfection except him. As to giving that partially to a tree, saying that the tree shares in divinity, that a tree shares in holiness, that a tree shares in perfection, or the sun, or the stars, or the moon, then we reject this. The Muslims reject this. And it is befitting for us to reject it. Why? It's because, once again, he is our Lord, and he is the one that deserves to be worshipped by himself. Moving away from those attributes, there's another attribute that is very, very important to show the dissimilarity and is connected to what we just mentioned. And that is that the Lord of the worlds, Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything that is between them, the Muslims do not believe, even though, and this is one of the reasons why we said we don't want any Muslims saying anything. Because believe it or not, you non-Muslims, if we allow the Muslims to speak during this talk, this discussion amongst ourselves, some of them would probably mess things up for us. Because even some of the Muslims have some mistakes in their beliefs. Even some of the Muslims. So we try to use damage control. We want to put an airbag there in case I crash because of what my brother said or one of my sisters in Islam said. I have to make the damage control in the beginning. Put the airbag right there on our dashboard of discussion.